So this is the all-new Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra, and it's still available for pre-order. Will be available in stores next week. The iPhone 16 Pro Max has been out since around September. You can pick this up now. Also, some pre-orders are already shipping for the S25 Ultra, but in this episode, we're going to find out which is going to be the better one for you to choose, which to buy, and let's do a full comparison between the S25 Ultra and the iPhone 16 Pro Max. So what is up, guys? Nick here, helping you to master your technology, and let's begin this video by talking about the price and value. We'll start with the Samsung. This definitely retails higher than the iPhone 16 Pro Max. This is $1299. This starts at $1199, so a little bit higher for the Galaxy. However, the fact that it matters is most people, let's be real, are not paying retail for this phone. A lot of people aren't paying retail for that either because of the trade-ins, but the trade-ins are usually of better value on the Samsung. So I do think you're getting more value if you use the trade-in value for the Samsung. They're instant credits and they usually are higher than what Apple offers you for trade-in. So at the end of the day, what I'm trying to say is that most people are not paying more for the Galaxy S25 Ultra than they are over the iPhone 16 Pro Max. So let's go ahead and talk about the body and the build. Now, this one is going to be pretty close. Samsung did improve the placement of the 5G antenna over there. They also did round the corners there for the Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra. However, it still retains that rectangular look that definitely looks different than its top competitor here, the iPhone 16 Pro Max. Also, I do have to state that the buttons are a little bit different. We do have a camera control button here on the body of the iPhone, not over here on the Samsung. Not saying they should put one because a lot of people don't even use this, but you have a power button right there, and volume markers and power buttons are on the same side here. One thing about the iPhone 16 Pro Max, though, is that it has integrated 5G antenna in the body, so it's effectively hidden. You can't even see it, really, so that's a good thing. Although, they both do have USB-C on the bottom as well. You do have a SIM card tray on this body of the Galaxy, which is a nice touch over this phone, which only offers eSIM. Now, a lot of people do like eSIM, but you have both options for the Galaxy, whether you want eSIM or physical SIM. Again, giving you more options. S Pen integration right there does remove the BLE or Bluetooth functionality, which definitely makes it a little bit lighter. And speaking of lighter, the body on the Galaxy is definitely lighter feeling to me, so I actually like that more than the heavier iPhone 16 Pro Max. But the 16 Pro Max still has those really curved corners and they just fit really nice in the hand. So it still feels a little more comfortable to hold. Although this is a massive improvement and departure from the Galaxy S24 Ultra. I do gotta say that here we're pretty much even. We have titanium grade 5 on both sides. The materials feel about the same. Big cameras on the back. I do have to say I like the way the Samsungs are in a vertical array. I think that looks a little, it's always looked like a stovetop to me on everything since the iPhone 11 Pro Max. But other than that, you know, there's not really any complaints about either. They're both, to me, top of the line. They're both really high quality and really large displays with very minimal bezels. So you can't go wrong either way. If you really like a closer to all screen, though, the Samsung does have a small punch hole versus this huge dynamic island, although you do get the infrared Face ID technology on there, which you might like for unlocking your phone. So it's a toss-up. Either way, though, these are both rock star phones in terms of the overall design. Really, they are. But the Samsung definitely lighter and sleeker than before, even if not as boxy and unique looking, which some people said did look more premium on last year's model. Let me know your thoughts on which one you think has the better actual look and design down below in the comments section. I do have to knock both of them. I'm going to knock both of them on not really pushing the boundaries in terms of design because both these phones technically still look very similar to their last few iterations. All right, so let's talk about the displays. Now, technically, the Samsung on paper has the better panel. We're looking at anti-reflective coating, which definitely gives the iPhone 16 Pro Max more glare. We also have a technically higher pixel density on the Samsung, and we actually can get technically higher in the peak brightness. It also does have a technically more screen to the body ratio, meaning more screen, even if it's only 0.5%, it's something. We're getting technical here. We're getting down to the minute details here. However, there is something to note about the Samsung because of their newer anti-reflective technology they have placed on here. It doesn't have that over like saturated, that very zingy color like it used to have. It's more of a toned down look, definitely still colorful, but not quite as in your face as it used to be, if you will. The iPhone still has very nice whites and very good overall color reproduction. And I do think these iPhone and Samsung phones are still very competitive in display. Some people are going to prefer the Samsung's specifications and look. Some people are going to prefer the iPhone. They really are quite neck and neck. One thing I do want to give a nod to Samsung though is if we scroll down here to display, they are giving you more to play around with in terms of screen resolution. And by the way, if you do pick up a S25 Ultra, it does come with Full HD Plus out of the box. So you are going to want to tweak that to QHD Plus if you want the highest resolution, although your battery will take a hit. You have the vivid mode, and you could crank this up to get more vividness, which is what I tend to do because I like a vivid display. Sometimes though, I like natural, especially at nighttime. Now the iPhone over here, because it doesn't have those anti-reflective properties, it does have what some people are going to think the color looks better. They're going to think the whites look better. They're going to think certain viewing angles of the phone look a little bit better, but that is to be expected. Again, it's going to be down to personal preference. I personally like the color reproduction a little bit more on the iPhone right now, but I like the specs. I like the sharpness of the Galaxy. It's just got a sharper overall panel. When you get really close to the text, you can tell that the actual text is much higher density. And I like that it can get brighter than the iPhone 16 Pro Max outdoors. And I also like its less obtrusive punch hole up there. It's pretty close to an all screen. I would like to see that go away for a UDC that actually has pretty solid quality in the future. But at the end of the day, we have two smartphones here that are really going to impress in the display department, and they're both at 6.9 inches. But if I had to pick one, I think I'm going to go with the Samsung for the overall feature set, and all of the anti-reflective properties are just nice. They just are. So when it comes to software, Samsung has really cleaned up things with One UI 7, making it just a little bit more simple than before. We just have a quick vertical app drawer here. We also have newer icons. Some of them are so zingy, they look like they're popping off the screen, like the gaming hub, the gallery icon. It's kind of neat. We also do still retain all of Samsung's core features in terms of the advanced feature set, except for the S Pen, which is pretty disappointing because you don't want to see a top level phone lose features, but unfortunately this one did, so I'm knocking them for that. But I personally don't use those features, but still we can't just give them credit for taking away something on a phone that costs the same price as the prior phone, which had that feature. That's not cool. So I'd like to see it return. If we go to labs, you have labs features, but all of the core advanced stuff is here on the Samsung, and you still do have a few S Pen features, definitely more than some generic phones with stylus. So it's still a little bit better than those, but not anything like with the Bluetooth suite that they used to have. When we go to themes, you'll be able to use both the Galaxy themes and you'll be able to use Google Play. In addition, you have the whole Galaxy Store suite along with their ecosystem of products, but also things like Google products work well with these as well, like Pixel Buds, Galaxy Buds work well, because this is Android and Samsung. So you're using two systems here. So both play nice. Google Apps, Google Things play nice here, but so does Samsung stuff. So it's kind of like a really feature-packed thing. It kind of reminds me of Windows for phones, because Windows can play nice with their own Microsoft stuff, but they also play nice with other things, other software, because it's kind of like an open source. So I do like that still about Android, the freedom here. Generally, it flies along quicker than ever before. In my speed tests, you've been seeing much faster performance than we did see on some prior year Samsung. So this One UI 7 is a dream to use if you like a lot of feature set, a lot of customization, but you also like it simple. If you don't want to do that, it still offers that. You the split screen multitasking, the Samsung DeX, which will allow you to connect this to a monitor, which I've been doing, and it runs fantastic. It's really a powerhouse. Add that to the fact that they've added a ton of new things like the new Now brief, which will show you what you can do in your day, like in terms of scheduling, it'll show you things like that. But you do have to set this content up right here. Also, you do have weather notifications, and it'll tell you stuff about what's connected to your Galaxy Watch. This phone is all about the AI. If I scroll down to the Galaxy AI, the suite of AI features is huge right here. So the value is really to be found in this area. If this is something you want to mess around with, play around with, you should strongly consider the Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra. Moving on to the iPhone, we're looking at iOS here. which still has the grid of icons on the home screen. And if we go over here to the app library, everything organized properly. If we go over here, we can hold down here. Hold on. We can hold down here, customize the apps, and we can get tinted icons, which to me, I wish they would give me a light mode tint, but it's okay. Dark mode, and then you could do auto mode, so that's pretty fun. I also tend to think that the Samsung widgets don't look quite as nice as the iPhones. The iPhones are just very polished looking to me. And overall, it runs along naturally without having an over an abundance of features. It's more to me of a simple OS. It doesn't really have a lot of fun things to do. You just kind of download your apps, use the phone the way Apple intended, and that's the bottom line. They are throwing a little more customization than they ever had before. But one thing that really is nice about it though is it still is one of the better looking software out there, one of the more polished. And a lot of people think that a lot of manufacturers are copying the look of the 16 Pro Max. Luckily, I don't think the Samsung phone actually looks anything like it. It's rectangular. It has different looking icons over here. Some people are gonna say, well, they put this like icon that kind of looks like the dynamic island. Maybe you could say that, but I still think it looks Samsung. Samsung has their own look now. So that's my take. iOS though, still a very, very good polished software with really well developed apps. However, because of all these iOS updates, I find it to have some bugs that are introduced a little bit more frequently than I find on the Samsung. So it can be buggy. Let's just put it that way. Also, it's pretty lame that we don't have any split screen multitasking on here. We got to use one app at a time. Some people say, well, what are you going to do? You're going to split screen on a 6-inch phone? Yeah, I'm actually doing it right now as I have a phone over here. I'm not going to show it, but I have a phone over here. I'm split screening my shot list with some specification sheet so I can see what I'm talking about during this video. So yes, I do use split screen. So yeah, but I want to see that on the iPhone. I've been wanting to see that for years. There's phones that are way smaller than the 16 Pro Max that can split screen, including the base Galaxy S25. Both of them do have long software support. Samsung's promising 7 years. iPhone's usually around 6, so it's pretty close. Either way you go, you have long-term beast performance on both of these. Really good overall software as well to keep you entertained for years to come. Further expanding on the AI, I do think that the iPhone is definitely a little bit behind with the AI, but they're not like hiding the fact. It says right there in beta. It's also on by default now, so if you don't want to use Apple Intelligence, you got to turn it off now in the settings. But I like that it is integrated with ChatGPT, and I do like the visual intelligence that is integrated within the camera control button. That is a pretty neat feature. Also here on the Samsung, you can just hold down now for Gemini on the right for that chat. You can also use Bixby as well. If I hold right here, I can circle to search anything on the screen and find it. That's a pretty neat feature. I do think you're a little bit ahead here when it comes to artificial intelligence on the Samsung, but Apple is catching up. They got quite a few features in here, including things like Image Playground. You could do generative images on the Samsung as well. So I mean, we could talk all day about this. We can dive really deep. We don't need to waste time. Samsung is a little ahead here, but the iPhone is still offering it. So AI is strong on both, but still in beta and improving for the iPhone. I still say the performance differences, while they might technically benchmark higher in single core on the iPhone, tend to favor the Galaxy in terms of speed. In my prior speed test, you did see faster animation. Somebody said I turned on developer options to be biased towards the Samsung. No, the animations and speed of One UI 7 is faster than before. I didn't turn anything on. Everything's on by default on board, and it's just quicker than the iPhones with the animation, while also giving us non-linear look. So you do have a powerhouse performer here, and if you were always looking for a Samsung with really strong performance, 8 Elite chip on board, 12 gigabytes of RAM, very fast optimization, this one is it. And don't get it twisted. I am not unaware that there are some Chinese phones out there with 16 gigs of RAM. I'm going to tell Samsung through this video review, yes, please add 16 gigs of RAM on the next one. However, what I also have to state is, and I'm just being honest here, I don't have a slowdown with 12. And I'm not canceling out what I just said, because down the line, I still want 16 gigs of RAM for the long term. But right now, it seems to be working just fine. So I have to revisit this in 1 year and give my new statements as One UI 8 comes out. We'll see how it performs on the next major software. But right now, this thing is super fast, and it still has more RAM than the iPhone 16 Pro Max. Remember, iOS is a more simplified, it's a lighter OS, so it doesn't really need a ton of RAM. However, I do want to see 12 make its way to the next iPhone. I think it deserves it and needs it. As all the other competition, it is just behind them in that department. But the actual performance day to day with the A series chipset, still very quick, can run all of these very nicely polished applications within the App Store, and it just runs really fantastic. So this thing right here is a really, really reliable performer. But the Samsung has not only caught up, but has actually surpassed them, I feel like, in performance. When it comes to camera, there's only one that I would consider in terms of zoom, and that is going to be the Samsung. The Samsung does have substantially more zoom. It goes all the way up to 100 times. Right here, I'm not going to get the best overall quality, but Samsung still has that signature Samsung look. The photos are a little bit softer, in my opinion, than the iPhone. Also, in video, if you want more options for video, like features, pick the Samsung. It's going to win in camera. It also has 8K options, although most people are not watching 8K video. Most screens are not 8K, so it's not super useful to me, but it is a way to say, hey, I have a better spec over here. I also like how they lowered the camera feature settings. They brought these more at thumb level, so it's a lot easier to like reach your camera settings with one hand. That's a nice usability enhancement here for the phone. In addition, on One UI 7, the actual camera controls are even lower. So that's a typical One UI thing to bring things lower. They've been doing that for a lot of years, and it got better here in the camera. Also, the Expert RAW mode will take you into the Expert RAW camera, which you have to download from the Galaxy Store, but you can really go to town with RAW, JPEG, and all kinds of other options in here, even zebra patterns and stuff. So you want to get Pro. This one has it, definitely, over the iPhone. Pro video over here is really substantial as well if you want to like really get granular control like a real camera. And also we have 200 megapixel available shots, so very high quality main camera. In addition, you can monitor audio through this phone, and you have a lot of different various modes to play around with. Also, the selfie camera is pretty fantastic as well. It has pretty good looking selfies. I actually think they tend to look a little bit nicer in terms of like not showing too much detail on my face on the Samsung. But the selfie quality is good on the iPhone as well. I would say if you want zoom and versatility, as well as log recording and like these kind of like just really, really fine-tuned controls, but the Samsung is the move. I'd pick the iPhone though for just easy to like pull it out, take a video real quick, and just have top quality. It's just so easy. Video looks amazing. You don't have to do anything. It just looks amazing. So I feel like to get the best video, I do like to use the Pro settings on Samsung. Over here, it's just kind of easy to do it by itself. It has cinematic mode. And while these camera controls used to be lower than some other phones, now Samsung has lowered these, so these are a little bit higher up. In addition, the settings are horrible. You have to go all the way into the settings to find the camera settings on the iPhone, but the iPhone still has such good video quality and such good photo quality overall that you don't have to know how to do anything or even tweak the settings, and you're probably still going to be happy. Also, a lot of people can just tell that's an iPhone on the front, or the selfie video and camera. It just has that look, that iPhone look. And a lot of people love that. So the iPhone is still very competitive. These phones just remind me of another year, another Ultra, another iPhone Max. You're winning either way you go. Just fantastic. Again, versatility features. It's the Samsung this year. iPhone, if you want really good 4K 120, 4K 60 video, and you just want it simple, you don't want to tweak around with settings too much, the iPhone wins there. But if you want to get granular, you can download Filmic Pro, you can download Final Cut Camera, you can put all the rigs and stuff. If you want to take the iPhone to town, you can. Don't get it twisted. I'm not saying you can't. I'm just saying that Samsung has that stuff thrown in there without having to download too many extra things. When it comes to the battery life, it's a toss-up, but the Samsung, to me, it's pretty impressive that it's lighter than the iPhone and also has a larger battery. It tends to last almost the same. I mean, we're talking a difference of probably less than a half an hour, but the victory went to the iPhone. In my testing, it seems to last like 20 minutes longer. It just performs a little bit better, but it has a 4687 battery, so it is smaller than Samsung. However, when I throw on Full HD Plus, I can actually pass up the iPhone on the Samsung. So again, it's a toss-up. They're pretty much all-day phones and then some. Either way you go, you're basically winning here. The Samsung, though, is not going to be as large as some Chinese phones out there, and iPhone neither. Some of those phones are pushing 6,000, but sometimes those phones still don't last any much longer than these 5,000 or near 5,000 cells right here. Right now, it's just really a toss-up. Either way, some days you might get better battery life on the Samsung depending on you using it. Some days better on the iPhone. Neither of them is the fastest charging out there, but Samsung is 45 watts max. This one is 25 watts, so the iPhone is pretty darn slow by comparison. But there are phones faster than this, so if Samsung wanted to, they could increase the speed of charging in the future if they wanted. They could go like 60 to 80 watts to improve that performance. However, that could affect the battery longevity, so we'll see where the battery technology goes down the line. From a biometric perspective, the ultrasonic fingerprint sensor is pretty amazing because you don't even have to look. You can get right in. You can also use greasy fingers. If you get a little bit wet, it still works. While Apple does have a huge dynamic island on the screen, it is for a good reason. That Face ID is fantastic, and I love using it every single day. But definitely, I love using the ultrasonic as well. So it's a toss up there. Again, it depends on what you want to use for your biometrics, your finger or your face. You can use your face on the Samsung as well, but that's nowhere near as secure as the ultrasonic. So which one you prefer? It's kind of down to your personal preference there. So when it comes to audio, especially when you turn on Dolby Atmos, the Samsung was able to produce about a decibel louder audio at the highest peak volume for me. When it comes to connectivity, I found the Samsung is now having a little bit better bar strength than the iPhone. Although the iPhone was a nice improvement over the prior year, it's really good as well. So I used to say the Samsungs were way ahead. Nowadays, they're both kind of like neck and neck in this department. It's going to depend on your carrier as well. Both of them do support all the US bands, which is really amazing, especially because that's where you're most likely going to be buying this phone. Some people will be buying this in other countries as well, but I can't really speak on those bands because I don't live over there. So let me know if one of these has better reception where you're at. I will say, though, that the satellite connectivity is a little bit more trickier to use with the Samsung, so it's kind of like a letdown. If you really want great satellite connectivity, you'll want to go with the iPhone in this respect. But at the end of the day, both of them do really good phone call quality, and you can also do call recording with the AI features now on both of them. And the Samsung still has the S Pen, which is no stylus to be found on the iPhone. You could probably use some third-party capacitive touchscreen styluses, but it really doesn't come with the iPhone, so that's still a strong suit for this phone over the iPhone itself. In conclusion, which one is right for you? Which one to choose? If you want all the features in the kitchen sink and you don't care about Bluetooth S Pen, you'll want the Samsung. This phone is just all around. There's just no real cons to this device in terms of just a flagship phone. It has a good screen. It has really fast performance, good battery, great cameras. It's fast. It runs everything well. Strong ecosystem. What is there to complain about? Well, if we want to talk about innovation, we can complain about the fact that Samsung didn't increase the battery size. They didn't really add a substantially different design. They didn't make the S Pen better. They actually decreased it. We could complain about a few things. But for what it is, I mean, it has everything you need. Bright display, strong performance, strong battery, strong cameras, strong ecosystem, good resale value, long software support. It's all there. And a lot more versatility, split screen modes, and more AI suite than the iPhone. You want the iPhone if you want simple. You want polish. You want quicker updates, more consistent updates. You want the Apple branding. You like the Apple devices. You like the Apple logo on the back. You like the design. You like the prestige of the having an iPhone. All your friends are using iMessage and FaceTime. You want to go over here to the iPhone. You also want longer battery life than ever on a Max, and you want super thin bezels that you haven't seen before on a large iPhone. That's going to be this one. But you're going to deal with a little bit heavier size and same old kind of look since the past several years. Besides the reduced bezels, it kind of looks the same since the iPhone 14 Pro Max, 13 Pro Max, which was a little bit different. Either way you go, you're winning. That's the ones for you. If you find yourself resonating more with what I was saying about the Samsung, pick that phone. If you find yourself resonating more with what I said about the iPhone, I think you're going to be a very happy camper with that one. And I am aware that this more should be compared to the upcoming 17 Pro Max, which we will do, so be subscribed for that. But that's several months down the line. That's like 9 months from now. So, well, it's kind of like 8, but it's still way away. So that's why we do this one early on. Thumbs up if you enjoyed this in-depth, detailed, thorough comparison. Subscribe if you haven't already, and share your comments, questions, concerns down below. Nick here, helping you to master your technology. Be sure to be well, and peace.